Scarlett Hunter could still taste the cheap ramen. Salty, stale, a ghost of a decade spent surviving on the bare minimum. For 10 years, it had been her breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a constant companion while she juggled 3 jobs to save her parents' house. Now, at 33, she stood in the living room of that same house hanging a congratulations banner with trembling hands. Tonight was supposed to be her triumph. The mortgage was paid off, down to the last penny. But as she adjusted the banner, a knot of unease tightened in her chest. She'd spent her 20s and early 30s being the responsible one, the dependable one, the one who gave up her dreams so others could chase theirs. And tonight she hoped her family would finally see her. The living room of the Hunter family home buzzed with anticipation. Scarlett had gone all out, catered food, decorations, even a playlist of her parents' favorite songs. Her mother, Caitlin, adjusted a streamer, her voice soft. "The decorations look perfect, though I still think you went overboard with the catering." Scarlett forced a smile, memories of missed birthdays and canceled plans flooding back. "It's a special occasion, Mom. The house is finally free and clear." The doorbell chimed, and soon the modest space filled with family, friends, and neighbors. Scarlett greeted each guest, her smile a mask over years of exhaustion. Her younger brother, Anton, arrived late, his girlfriend Bethany on his arm. Both wore designer clothes that screamed money Scarlett didn't have. "Sis," Anton said, wrapping her in a cologne-heavy hug. "This spread looks amazing. You always were good at organizing stuff." Organizing stuff. Like managing 3 jobs while Anton chased his latest get-rich-quick scheme. Cryptocurrency, organic smoothies, life coaching. Scarlett's smile tightened. "Where's Dad?" she asked Caitlin, glancing at her watch. The food was getting cold. "Oh, you know your father," Caitlin said, waving a hand. "Probably at the hardware store, eyeing that new drill." Marvin Hunter arrived 20 minutes later, but he carried no hardware bags. Instead, he held a bottle of champagne, his grin wide, the same grin he'd worn when Anton made the high school football team. "Everyone gather around," Marvin called, tapping his glass with a spoon. "I've got a wonderful announcement." Scarlett's heart sank. She'd prepared her own speech about family and perseverance, about reaching the finish line together. But Marvin's voice boomed over her thoughts. "First, I want to thank Scarlett for organizing this lovely party. She's always been our reliable one. The reliable one. Like a dependable appliance," Scarlett thought, her grip tightening on her glass. "But the real excitement is about Anton," Marvin continued, his voice rising. "Our boy has finally found his calling. He's going to be a travel vlogger. Already. Has 10,000 followers on TikTok." Bethany squeezed Anton's arm, her smile radiant, while Scarlett's stomach twisted. "We've been talking about it for months," Marvin went on. "And your mother and I decided to help jumpstart his career. We've remortgaged the house to fund his first year of travel content creation." The champagne glass nearly slipped from Scarlett's fingers. "You what?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the room's sudden chatter. "Isn't exciting?" Caitlin touched her arm. "Anton's going to see the world, share his experiences. He's so photogenic, the camera loves him." The room spun. 10 years of ramen noodles, 10 years of walking to work in the snow because she couldn't afford car repairs. 10 years of watching her youth slip away, one overtime shift at a time. "When did you take out this new mortgage?" Scarlett asked, her voice trembling. "Oh, about 3 weeks ago," Marvin said casually. "Right after you made that final payment. The timing couldn't have been better. The equity was there. For Anton to chase his dreams." Someone laughed. Another guest asked Anton about his planned destinations. Scarlett stood frozen, the champagne turning warm in her hand as a decade of sacrifice dissolved into nothing. "To Anton," Marvin raised his glass. "To new beginnings." The room echoed with cheers. Scarlett's mind raced, calculating the hours she'd worked, over 30,000. To pay off a house her parents had immediately leveraged for Anton's social media fantasies. How many nights had she lain awake, wondering if she'd ever have a life of her own? Scarlett? Caitlin touched her arm again, her smile expectant. Aren't you going to toast your brother's success? Scarlett looked at her mother's soft smile, at her father's proud beam directed entirely at Anton, at her brother's casual confidence that the world would hand him everything. "Excuse me," she whispered. "I need to make a phone call." Scarlett slipped upstairs, locking herself in the bathroom. The muffled sounds of celebration drifted through the floor vents, laughter, clinking glasses, Anton's voice rising above it all. Her fingers shook as she dialed a number she'd hoped she'd never need. Rang twice before a familiar voice answered. "Trevor Anderson's office." "Trevor, it's Scarlett Hunter," she said, her voice low. "Remember that contingency plan we discussed? The one about protecting my interest in the house payments?" "I do," Trevor replied, his tone professional but knowing. "Would you like me to proceed?" Through the bathroom vent, Scarlett heard Anton describing the exotic locations he'd visit with her decade of sacrifice. Her parents hung on his every word. "Yes," she said quietly. "It's time to proceed." "Did you get everything documented?" she asked, keeping her voice low. "Every payment, every transaction, every piece of paperwork you signed," Trevor confirmed. "The trust structure is ironclad. Legally speaking, that house belongs to you alone." A knock on the door made her jump. "Scarlett, honey, are you okay?" Caitlin's voice carried the worried tone she usually reserved for Anton's crises. "Just a minute," Scarlett called back, then whispered into the phone. "How long will it take?" "I can have the letters sent first thing Monday morning," Trevor said, then paused. "But Scarlett, are you sure about this? Family conflicts can get ugly fast." Through the vent, a guest's voice drifted up. "Where's Anton's sister? She's missing his big moment." "His sister?" Another voice answered. "Oh, you mean the responsible one? Always working, that girl. Probably checking her emails." Scarlett gripped the phone tighter. "I'm sure, Trevor. Send the letters." She hung up, splashed cold water on her face, and opened the door. Caitlin stood there, wringing her hands. "There you are. Anton's about to show everyone his promotional video. Come down and support your brother." Scarlett followed her downstairs, her mind racing. Anton had connected his laptop to the TV, and the crowd gathered as upbeat music played over scenes of beaches and cityscapes. "This is just a sample," Anton explained. "Once we get the real equipment, Bethany and I can create much better content. We're thinking of starting in Bali. The algorithm loves Bali content." Marvin chuckled, nudging Caitlin. "Remember when Scarlett wanted to study photography in college? Good thing she chose the practical route instead. Someone had to keep things running when I lost my job." The memory hit Scarlett like a blow. She was 16 when Marvin got laid off. Caitlin had sobbed at the kitchen table about losing the house. Scarlett had promised to help, taking her first waitressing job after school, then another, then another. She'd forfeited her photography dreams to keep the family afloat. "Actually," Scarlett said, her voice cutting through the chatter, "I never chose the practical route. It was chosen for me." The room went quiet. Anton's video continued, now showing sunset yoga poses on a beach. "What do you mean, sweetie?" Caitlin's smile turned nervous. "I mean, I gave up college because you and Dad said we needed all hands on deck to save the house," Scarlett said, her voice rising. "But somehow there was still money for Anton's private school tuition." "Now, Scarlett," Marvin started, but she cut him off. "And now that I've finally paid off the mortgage after 10 years of working myself to exhaustion, you immediately remortgage it for Anton's social media dreams." Bethany stepped forward, her tone defensive. "It's not just social media, it's a business plan. We've done the research." "Like the research you did for Anton's cryptocurrency investment?" Scarlett shot back. "Or his organic smoothie franchise, or his life coaching certification?" "That's enough," Marvin boomed. "Your brother has vision. He takes risks. That's what it takes to make it big." "And who paid for those risks, Dad?" Scarlett asked, her voice trembling. "Who covered the losses every time his visions failed?" The video ended, leaving the room in silence. Several guests made excuses to leave. "I think you're just tired, sweetheart," Caitlin said softly. Why don't you go home and rest? We can talk tomorrow." Scarlett looked around. At the banner she'd hung, the catering she'd paid for, the family photos on the wall showing Anton's victories while she was always behind the camera. "Right, Mom," she said, grabbing her purse. "I am tired. I'm tired of being the responsible one, the reliable one, the invisible one." As she headed for the door, she heard Anton mutter, "Don't worry, she'll get over it. She always does," but this time was different. This time, Scarlett had a plan. Scarlett's car rumbled through the quiet streets, the party lights fading in her rearview mirror. Her phone buzzed. A text from Trevor. "Documents are ready. I'll file first. Thing Monday? Once we start this, there's no going back." She thought of the trust documents hidden in her safe, the careful way Trevor had structured every payment to protect her interests. Her parents had never bothered to read the fine print, assuming their reliable daughter would handle everything. Well, she had, just not the way they expected. "Do it," she texted back, her hands steady for the first time that night. As she drove, memories flooded back. At 16, she'd taken her first job at a diner, the smell of grease clinging to her clothes as she balanced trays and homework. By 18, she'd added a retail gig, her feet aching from standing 12-hour shifts. At 20, a night job cleaning offices, endless hours of solitude, scrubbing floors while her peers went to college, all to save the house her parents had now remortgaged. Without a word, she pulled into her small apartment complex, the weight of the night settling on her shoulders. Her place was modest, a one-bedroom with thrift store furniture, but it was hers. The first thing she'd done after paying off the house was buy a pristine white armchair, a symbol of the life she'd start building for herself. Now that dream felt further away than ever. Her phone buzzed again, a string of missed calls from her parents. She ignored them, her resolve hardening. For the first time in 10 years, she felt something other than exhaustion. Power. Monday morning dawned, gray and cold. Scarlett sat in Trevor Anderson's office, legal documents spread across his desk. Trevor, a sharp-eyed lawyer in his 50s, adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses. "Everything's filed," he said. "The trust documentation clearly shows you as the sole owner. Their new mortgage is invalid without your consent." "How long until they receive notice?" Scarlett asked, her voice steady. "The courier should deliver it today," Trevor replied, leaning back. "I have to ask again, are you prepared for the fallout?" Before she could answer, her phone lit up with a message from an unexpected name. Mila, her cousin. They hadn't spoken in years, not since Mila's own family drama had torn that side of the family apart. Saw Anton's travel vlog announcement online. Guess the party didn't go as planned. Scarlett stepped out of Trevor's office to call her. "Holy hell, Scarlett," Mila answered without preamble. "I can't believe they remortgaged the house after everything you did." "You have no idea," Scarlett said, then found herself spilling everything, the decade of sacrifice, the trust structure, the legal proceedings now in motion. "Damn," Mila whistled. "That's some grade A revenge planning. But listen, speaking from experience, family revenge gets messy fast." "What happened with your family?" Scarlett asked. "I never got the full story." Mila laughed bitterly. "Short version, my brother developed a drug habit. Dad kept enabling him, draining the family savings. When I questioned it, Dad wrote me out of his will, said I wasn't family-oriented enough." "That's insane," Scarlett said, her grip tightening on the phone. "That's family," Mila replied. "The question is, Scarlett, what happens after you win? After you get your revenge?" Her phone buzzed with another call from Caitlin. Scarlett ignored it. "They need to learn actions have consequences," she said firmly. "Oh, they'll learn," Mila said, her voice softening. "But so will you. Just be careful. This kind of thing changes people." Back in Trevor's office, Scarlett signed the final papers. Her phone kept buzzing, calls from her parents, then Anton. Around 4 p.m., a voicemail notification appeared. Caitlin's voice came through, thick with tears. "Scarlett, we got a letter from a lawyer. What have you done to us? Your father is... Please call us back, please." Minutes later, Anton called. "What the hell, sis?" he exploded. You're trying to invalidate the mortgage? Do you know how many sponsors I've already lined up? Funny how you can call me now, Scarlett said coldly, when you need something. This isn't fair, Anton snapped. Mom and Dad said the house was paid off. It was by me, Scarlett shot back. Every payment, every repair, every tax bill for 10 years. So what? You're just going to destroy my chance at success? My one shot at making it big? Scarlett thought of all her shots that never came. You've had plenty of shots. Anton, this time try paying for them yourself. You've always been jealous, he spat, just because Mom and Dad believed in my potential. No, Scarlett cut him off. They believed in your excuses. There's a difference. Bethany's voice came through in the background. Tell her about the equipment we already ordered. The deposits we can't get back. Not my problem, Scarlett said, hanging up. An hour later, Mila texted again. Just heard from my mom. Your dad's telling everyone you've turned against the family. You okay? Scarlett stared at the message, memories of family gatherings flashing through her mind, serving dinner while others sat, missing vacations to cover Anton's failed ventures, burying her dreams under the weight of being the responsible one. Her phone rang again, Caitlin's number. This time she answered. How could you? Caitlin sobbed. Your own family. That's funny, Scarlett said quietly. I've been asking myself the same question for 10 years. We're your parents, Caitlin pleaded. Everything we did was to help your brother succeed. And what about helping me succeed? Scarlett asked. Silence stretched across the line. The lawyer's letter explains everything, Scarlett continued. The house is legally mine. The new mortgage is void. If you want to fund Anton's travel videos, you'll need to find another way. You've changed, Caitlin whispered. You've turned into... She stopped abruptly. Turned into who? Scarlett pressed. Never mind, Caitlin said, quickly. Just please reconsider. For family. Scarlett thought of Mila's warning about the cost of standing up for herself. You're right, Mom. I have changed. And yes, this is about family. It's about how family should treat each other. She ended the call and texted Trevor. Any chance they can fight this? His response was swift. None. The house is yours. What happens next is up to you. Scarlett looked at her reflection in the office window. Had she changed, or had she finally stopped? Pretending? The question lingered as she prepared for the inevitable confrontation. The next morning, Scarlett drove to her parents' house, her house now, with a folder of documents under her arm. Cars lined the driveway. Caitlin's sedan, Marvin's truck, Anton's leased BMW, and Bethany's compact. They were waiting in the living room. Marvin paced by the window, Caitlin perched nervously on the sofa, and Anton and Bethany huddled, on the love seat glaring at her. Here to gloat? Anton asked as Scarlett set the folder on the coffee table. No, she said, pulling out the trust documents. I'm here to make things clear. This is the legal structure of how I paid off the mortgage. Notice the dates, the signatures, everything properly notarized. Marvin snatched the papers. This can't be right. We never agreed to put the house solely in your name. Actually, you did, Scarlett said. Remember all those documents you signed without reading? The ones you trusted your reliable daughter to handle? Caitlin started crying softly. Bethany stood, hands on her hips. Do you have any idea what you've done? We've already paid deposits for equipment, flights, accommodations, non-refundable deposits. Funny, Scarlett said. I don't remember anyone asking about non-refundable deposits when I was paying the property taxes, fixing the roof, or replacing the furnace. That was different, Caitlin protested. You were helping family. And now I'm helping family again, Scarlett said. I'm teaching an important lesson about reading contracts before signing them. Anton jumped up. This is ridiculous. Dad, do something. Marvin was still scanning the documents, his face reddening. There must be a way to contest this. We'll get our own lawyer. Go ahead, Scarlett said, pulling out more papers. Here are copies of every check I wrote, every repair bill I paid, every extra job I took to keep this house afloat while Anton was pursuing his dreams. You're just bitter, Bethany snapped. Jealous because Anton has actual goals and ambitions. I had goals too, Scarlett said, her voice cracking. I wanted to study photography. I wanted to travel. I wanted a life beyond being everyone's safety net. Nobody forced you to help us, Marvin growled. No, Scarlett shot back. What about when I was 16 and you lost your job? When Mom cried every night about losing the house? When you both guilt-tripped me about family responsibility while sending Anton to private school? The room fell silent except for Caitlin's sobs. You wanted a house to remortgage? Scarlett continued, gathering her documents. Get your own. This one's mine. You've turned into your Aunt Rachel, Caitlin blurted, her voice trembling. Scarlett froze. What? Caitlin pressed her lips together, refusing to elaborate. Marvin shot her a warning look. Who's Aunt Rachel? Scarlett demanded. Nobody, Marvin said quickly. Your mother's upset. She doesn't know what she's saying. Anton's phone chimed, probably another sponsor notification. The sound snapped Scarlett back to the present. The legal situation is clear, she said, standing. The new mortgage is void. You have no claim to this property. So what now? Anton asked bitterly. You're throwing your own family out on the street? No, Scarlett said. I'm giving you all 30 days to make other arrangements. That's more consideration than you showed me when you remortgaged my decade of sacrifice without telling. Then please. Caitlin reached for her hand. We can work something out. Family should... Don't. Scarlett pulled away. Don't talk to me about family. Not anymore. As she turned to leave, Bethany called out, You'll regret this. You'll end up alone and bitter just like your precious Aunt Rachel. Scarlett paused at the door. Maybe. But I'll end up alone and bitter in my own house. One that's paid for, one that nobody can mortgage away behind my back. In her car, Scarlett sat for a moment watching through the window. Marvin was on his phone, likely calling lawyers. Caitlin had collapsed into fresh tears. Anton and Bethany argued in harsh whispers. Her phone buzzed. Mila again. How did it go? About as well as expected, Scarlett texted back. But Mom said something weird. She compared me to Aunt Rachel. Know anything about that? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. That's complicated family history. Dark stuff. Buy me coffee tomorrow and I'll tell you what I know. Scarlett started her car, taking one last look at the house. Through the window, she saw the family photos on the wall. Decades of memories, sacrifices, and unspoken resentments. Coffee. Tomorrow, she texted Mila. I have a feeling I need to know this family history. The coffee shop was quiet when Mila arrived the next day, her dark hair windblown, her expression grim. She slid into the booth across from Scarlett without ordering. Before I tell you about Aunt Rachel, she said, you need to understand something. This family has a history of eating its own. What do you mean? Scarlett asked, pushing her latte aside. Rachel was my mom's sister. Your mom's too, obviously, Mila began. She was the oldest, the responsible one. Sound familiar? Scarlett nodded, a chill creeping up her spine. Go on. 20 years ago, your grandfather died and left the family business to Rachel, Mila continued. She'd been running it while the others did their own thing, but your mom and my mom contested the will, claimed Rachel had manipulated him. Did she? Scarlett asked. Mila shrugged. Doesn't matter. What matters is what she did next. She liquidated everything, sold the business piece by piece, and made sure nobody got anything. She said if they thought she was manipulative, she'd show them manipulative. What happened to her? Scarlett asked, her voice quiet. Lives alone in Arizona now, Mila said. Nobody talks to her. She got her revenge, but it cost her everything. Before Scarlett could respond, the bell above the door chimed. Laura, the family's longtime realtor, walked in. When she spotted Scarlett, her face went pale. Scarlett, I was just coming to call you. What's wrong? Scarlett asked. Laura glanced at Mila, then back to Scarlett. It's about the house. There's something you should know about the new mortgage application. I already know. It's void, Scarlett said. No, it's worse than that, Laura said, sitting down uninvited. Your father's name isn't on it at all. He used a workaround to bypass disclosure requirements. If the bank finds out, are you saying he committed fraud? Scarlett interrupted. Laura nodded slowly. And with the trust structure you have in place, he had no legal right to even attempt the mortgage. The bank's going to come looking for answers. Scarlett's phone buzzed. A text from Trevor. Urgent. Bank flagged irregularities in mortgage application. Need to talk. That's not all, Laura continued. I just drove past the house. There's an eviction notice on the door. What? Scarlett and Mila said simultaneously. The bank moved fast once the fraud was detected, Laura explained. They're treating it as a criminal matter now. Scarlett's hands shook. She'd wanted revenge, but not this. Not fraud charges and eviction notices. I need to see this for myself, she said, standing. 20 minutes later, Scarlett, Mila, and Laura pulled up to the house. The eviction notice was stark white against the dark door. Notice of eviction. Fraudulent mortgage application. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. Papers littered the kitchen table. Bank statements, loan applications, rejection letters from sponsors for Anton's vlog. A half-packed box sat in the corner. Look at this, Mila called from the living room, holding up a shattered picture frame. A family photo, the glass cracked across the middle. As Scarlett took it, something fluttered to the floor. A yellowed piece of paper, folded small, hidden behind the photo. Her handwriting from years ago. Dear future me, don't forget how this feels. Don't forget sitting at this desk while they're all at Anton's game. Don't forget the promises they break. Don't forget Scarlett, age 16. Jesus, Mila whispered, reading over her shoulder. You really were the family's Rachel. Scarlett's phone rang. Caitlin's number. Where are you? Scarlett answered. At your Aunt Linda's. Caitlin sobbed. The bank. They're saying your father is Scarlett. What have you done to us? What have I done? Scarlett said, her voice firm. Dad's the one who committed fraud. He only did it because you trapped us, Caitlin. Bat. Because you tricked us with those trust documents. In the background, Scarlett heard Marvin yelling about lawyers. Anton's voice rising about ruined opportunities. Mom, Scarlett said, I didn't force Dad to commit fraud. I didn't force any of this. Your choices led here, not mine. You're just like Rachel, Caitlin hissed. Destroying your family for revenge. Scarlett looked at the teenage note in her hand, at the shattered family photo. Maybe Rachel had her reasons too, she said, hanging up. She sank onto the couch, Mila sitting beside her. What are you going to do? Mila asked. Through the window, Scarlett watched a bank representative tape another notice to the door. Her phone buzzed with messages from Trevor about fraud investigations. I wanted justice, she said quietly. But this karma's bigger than either of us, Mila replied. The question is, are you ready for where this road leads? Scarlett looked at her teenage self's warning note. Don't forget how this feels. But she never could have imagined it would feel like this. A week later, a knock on Scarlett's condo door came at 11 p.m. She opened it to find Caitlin. Mascara streaked down her face, looking smaller than ever. Anton's gone, Caitlin said without preamble. He took Bethany and whatever money they had left. Won't answer his phone. Scarlett let her in, watching as Caitlin sank into the white armchair. Your father's not eating, Caitlin continued. Just sits there making lists of people who might lend us money. The bank froze our accounts because of the fraud. He committed fraud because of the fraud, Scarlett said flatly. He was desperate, Caitlin pleaded. We all were. Anton's sponsors were going to pull out if he didn't start producing content soon. Scarlett walked to her kitchen, gripping the counter until her knuckles whitened. And what about my desperation, Mom? All those years I was desperate for just one person to ask if I was okay. You were always so strong, Caitlin whispered. So capable. I wasn't strong, Scarlett snapped. I was trapped. Her phone buzzed. Mila, heard Anton bought one-way tickets to Bali. Used your parents' emergency credit card. Please, Caitlin said, noticing Scarlett's expression. Whatever that message is, can't you just let it go? We're still family. Family. Scarlett laughed bitterly. Let me show you something. She pulled out her laptop, opening a folder labeled Receipts. Here's the receipt from when I paid for Anton's car repair instead of getting that root canal I needed. Here's the second job I took to cover Dad's medical bills. Here's the photography course deposit I forfeited to pay the property taxes. We didn't know, Caitlin whispered. You knew, Scarlett said. You just didn't care. The doorbell rang again. Marvin walked in without waiting for an invitation, looking haggard. The bank called, he said. They're talking about pressing charges. What do you want me to do about it? Scarlett asked. You could tell them you approved the mortgage, Marvin said. That it was all a misunderstanding. Scarlett stared at him. You want me to commit perjury? To cover up your fraud? I want you to help your family, Marvin exploded, like you always have. That's exactly the problem, Scarlett said. Mila's voice came from the doorway. Scarlett had left it open after Marvin barged in. You only see her as helpful, never as human. Caitlin jumped up. This doesn't concern you, Mila. Doesn't it? Mila shot back. I watched my own father destroy our family playing favorites. Sound familiar? Marvin turned to Scarlett. The guest house. Let us stay in the guest house until we figure something out. While you what? Scarlett asked. Wait for Anton to become TikTok famous? He'll come back, Caitlin insisted. He just needs time to process everything. Scarlett's phone buzzed again. Mila. Before you answer them, remember. Aunt Rachel. Remember what happened when she showed mercy? What are you looking at? Marvin demanded. More schemes with your cousin? You did this to yourselves, Scarlett said quietly. Every time you took my sacrifice for granted. Every time you praised Anton's dreams while crushing mine. So this is revenge. Caitlin's voice cracked. Watching us lose everything. No, Mom, Scarlett said. This is consequences, something this family never learned about. Marvin stepped closer. If you do this, if you let the bank press charges, you'll never see us again. Is that a threat or a promise? Scarlett asked. The silence was deafening. Caitlin started crying again. Marvin's face turned a dangerous shade of red. You really have turned into Rachel, he spat. Bitter, vindictive, alone. Maybe, Mila interjected. You should ask yourselves why both your daughter and your sister-in-law ended up this way. Scarlett walked to her door, holding it open. I think you both should leave. Scarlett, please, Caitlin tried one last time. We're still your parents. No, Scarlett said. You're just people who took advantage of someone who loved you. There's a difference. Meanwhile, in Bali, Anton Hunter stood on a beach, the sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The scene should have been perfect. His first vlog shoot, the kind of content that would make the algorithm love him. But Bethany was gone, having drained their joint account and left him with a pile of unpaid bills. The equipment they'd bought with non-refundable deposits sat unused in a rented villa he could no longer afford. Anton's phone buzzed. A text from a sponsor. Due to lack of content, we're withdrawing our support. Best of luck. He threw the phone into the sand, his dream unraveling faster than he could process. Back in the States, Scarlett received a text from Anton. Hope you're happy now. Don't try to find us. She thought of her teenage self, writing that note behind the family photo of all the years she'd spent trying to earn love that should have been freely given. You know what's funny? She told Mila as they sat on her couch staring at the city lights. They keep saying I turned into Aunt Rachel like it's the worst thing possible, but maybe she was the only one who ever told them the truth. Mila squeezed her hand. Truths? Expensive in this family. You sure you can afford it? Looking around her condo, at everything she'd built while building their dreams, Scarlett nodded. It's already paid for, just like the house. A week later, Scarlett hosted what she knew would be the final family dinner at the house. Trevor had advised against it, but she needed closure. She needed them to understand what they'd lost. She set the table with the best china, pieces she'd bought from thrift stores to replace what Caitlin had pawned for Anton's first failed venture. Marvin arrived first, looking older than ever. Caitlin followed, separately. They weren't staying together anymore. She'd moved in with her sister. "Where's Anton?" Scarlett asked, serving the pasta she'd made. "Still not answering calls," Caitlin said quietly. "His credit card was declined in Bali. Bethany posted something angry on Facebook, then blocked everyone." "Of course she did," Scarlett said, sitting down. "Well, let's eat." The clinking of forks filled the silence until Marvin cleared his throat. "The bank's lawyers called again." "I know," Scarlett said. "Trevor told me." "Trevor," Marvin scoffed. "Your partner in destroying this family?" "No," Scarlett said, setting down her fork. "My partner in protecting myself from this family. There's a difference." The front door opened. Anton walked in unannounced, looking sunburned and disheveled. "Well, isn't this cozy?" he sneered, dropping into a chair. "The perfect family dinner." "Where's Bethany?" Caitlin asked. "Gone," Anton said. "Turns out she had her own backup plan. Her own secret bank account." He laughed bitterly. "Guess it runs in the family, right, sis?" Scarlett served him a plate without commenting. He pushed it away. "I brought something better than dinner," he said, pulling out a folder. "Want to see what I found when I was cleaning out my old room?" He spread papers across the table. Old bank statements, loan documents, letters. "See these signatures?" he pointed. "Dad's been forging documents for years. Not just the recent mortgage. Everything." Caitlin gasped. Marvin's face went pale. "Anton, stop," he started. "No, let him continue," Scarlett said, suddenly calm. "What else did you find, brother?" "Turns out our perfect father has been playing fast and loose with signatures since before Scarlett started." "Paying for everything?" Anton said. "Remember that college fund Mom's parents left us? The one that mysteriously disappeared?" Marvin stood so quickly his chair fell backward. "You ungrateful—" "Sit down," Scarlett commanded. "You too, Anton. Let's finish what we started." To her surprise, they obeyed. "I have my own papers," Scarlett said, retrieving her briefcase. "Every transaction, every forged document, every time money disappeared and reappeared in Anton's ventures." "You kept records," Caitlin whispered. "I learned from Aunt Rachel," Scarlett said, smiling thinly. "That's why you really cut her off, isn't it? Not because she sold the family business, but because she had proof of Dad's financial fraud back then, too." The color drained from Caitlin's face. "How did you—" "I found Rachel," Scarlett said. "We had a long talk last week. She sends her regards." Marvin lunged for the papers, but Scarlett was faster, sliding them back into her briefcase. "Here's what's going to happen," she continued. "The house goes on the market next week. I've already talked to the bank. They're willing to drop the fraud investigation if everything's settled quietly." "You're blackmailing." "Us?" Anton asked incredulously. "No," Scarlett said. "I'm offering you an exit, one last chance to walk away with your dignity, if not your pride." "Or," Marvin challenged, "or I send everything, Rachel's records, my records, Anton's discoveries, to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division," Scarlett said. "Your choice." Caitlin started crying again. "We're your family." "No," Scarlett cut her off. "You're people who took advantage of family ties to commit fraud. There's a difference." "What do you want?" Marvin asked, defeated. "Sign these," Scarlett said, pulling out release forms Trevor had prepared. "Surrender any claim to the house. Accept that it's over. Walk away." One by one they signed, even Anton, his hands shaking with rage or withdrawal from his influencer dreams. "Now what?" he asked. "Now you leave," Scarlett said. "All of you. Don't come back." They filed out slowly, Caitlin pausing at the door. "Was it worth it, destroying everything?" "You destroyed it," Scarlett replied. "I just stopped pretending it was whole." After they left, Mila emerged from the kitchen where she'd been listening. "You got justice," she said softly. "But was it peace?" Scarlett looked at the signed papers, the empty plates, the family photos still on the walls. "Peace was never the goal," she said. "Truth was." Mila nodded. "Truth's a hell of a thing. Leaves a lot of wreckage." Yes, Scarlett agreed, gathering the dishes. But at least the wreckage is honest. The real estate agent hammered the "for sale" sign into the front lawn, while Scarlett watched from the porch, sipping coffee from a travel mug. The morning sun cast long shadows across the empty driveway where family cars once parked. Last walk-through, Mila asked, joining her with her own coffee. Almost ready, Scarlett said, just waiting for one more person. A taxi pulled up and a tall woman with silver-streaked dark hair stepped out. Aunt Rachel. She carried herself with a quiet confidence Scarlett recognized from her own mirror. "Never thought I'd stand here again," Rachel said, climbing the porch steps. "Hello, niece." "Thank you for coming," Scarlett said. Rachel touched the doorframe gently. "When you called, I almost said no, but then you mentioned the fraud documents." "Like aunt, like niece," Mila quipped. Inside, the house echoed with emptiness. Most furniture had been donated or sold. Only the kitchen table remained, the one where Scarlett had first promised to help save the house all those years ago. "They used the same tricks on you," Rachel said, examining the faded marks where photos once hung. "The guilt, the responsibility, the family duty." "Did it get easier?" Scarlett asked. "After you exposed everything?" "No," Rachel said, "but it got honest." She smiled. "Really, though, I hear you handled it better than I did. Offering them an exit strategy was kinder." "Not kind," Scarlett corrected. "Strategic." Her phone buzzed. A text from Anton. "Found Mom crying over old photos at Aunt Linda's. Dad sleeping on someone's couch. Hope you're satisfied with what you've done." Rachel read over her shoulder and laughed, still playing the victim card. Some things never change. "Speaking of change," Mila said, "show her what came in the mail." Scarlett pulled out a postcard from her bag. The front showed a Bali sunset. The back held 2 lines in Anton's handwriting. "Hope the house finds a better owner." "Sorry." "Sorry with a question mark," Rachel noted. "Classic non-apology apology. Better than what I got," Mila added. "My brother still claims I ruined his life by exposing Dad's enablement." The real estate agent knocked on the door. "We're ready for the final walkthrough whenever you are." Room by room, they documented the house's condition. Each empty space held memories. The living room where Scarlett had worked on laptops while Anton pitched his schemes. The dining room where Marvin had announced the remortgage. The kitchen where Caitlin had cried about bills. In her old bedroom, Rachel paused. "I had the back bedroom in our family home," she said. "The smallest one, but it had the best view of the sunrise." "The responsible ones always get the back rooms," Scarlett said. "Until we don't," Rachel replied. Back downstairs, the agent had papers ready. "Once you sign, we can list it tomorrow. Should get good offers. It's a solid house." "It should be," Scarlett said. "I maintained it well enough." As she signed, a car pulled into the driveway. Caitlin stepped out, clutching something. "Wait," she called through the open door. "Please." Rachel stiffened. Mila moved closer to Scarlett. Caitlin walked in, holding an old photo album. "I found this at Linda's," she said. "Thought you might want it." "Why would I want more family photos?" Scarlett asked. "Because these are different," Caitlin said, opening it to show pictures Scarlett had never seen. Her at work, at the house, fixing things. "I took them over the years, never showed them to anyone." "Why not?" Scarlett asked. Caitlin glanced at Rachel, then back to Scarlett. "Because showing them meant admitting how much we took advantage of you. How much I failed as a mother." Rachel made a small noise. Caitlin turned to her. "I failed you too, sister. We all did. Little late for revelations." Rachel said coldly. "I know," Caitlin said, setting the album on the kitchen table. "Keep it, burn it, whatever you want. Just know that someone saw you, even if we pretended not to." She left without another word. Through the window, Scarlett watched her drive away. "Well," Mila said after a long silence. "That was unexpected." Scarlett picked up the album, flipping through years of secret documentation of her sacrifice. "She knew all along," she whispered. She knew. Knowing isn't the same as admitting, Rachel said quietly. Trust me on that. The agent cleared her throat. Should I come back later? No, Scarlett said, closing the album. Let's finish this. Outside, the for sale sign caught the midday sun. Rachel touched Scarlett's shoulder. The house will sell. You'll move on. But that album proves you weren't crazy. It proves someone saw the truth, Scarlett finished. Even if they couldn't face it. Mila linked her arm through Scarlett's. So what now, cousin? Scarlett looked at the house, not as a prison of obligation, not as a weapon of revenge, but as a structure that had served its purpose in her story. Now, she smiled, we go get lunch, the three of us, family who choose to see each other clearly. I'll drink to that, Rachel said. As they walked to Scarlett's car, she glanced back one last time. Some inherit homes, others inherit debt. She had inherited the truth, and finally, that felt like enough. At 16, Scarlett had taken her first job at a diner on the edge of town. The neon sign buzzed overhead as she balanced trays of burgers and milkshakes, her school uniform swapped for a stained apron. The manager, a gruff man named Carl, had hired her on the spot. You look like you don't quit, he'd said. She hadn't. Every night she'd come home to find Caitlin at the kitchen table, bills spread out like a battlefield. We're going to lose the house, Caitlin would whisper, her eyes red. Marvin, unemployed and bitter, would sit in the living room, watching Anton's football games on repeat. I'll help, Scarlett had promised, her voice small but resolute. She didn't know then that help would mean giving up everything. Her photography dreams, her college plans, her youth. She didn't know that the house would become both her burden and her battleground. In Bali, Anton's dream continued to unravel. The villa owner had locked him out, his equipment confiscated for unpaid rent. He sat on the beach, the postcard he'd sent Scarlett crumpled in his hand. Sorry? He hadn't meant it. Not really. But as the waves crashed and the reality of his failure sank in, he wondered if Scarlett had been right. Maybe he'd had too many shots, and maybe they'd all come at her expense. Back home, Scarlett received an email from a mutual friend. Anton had been spotted working as a bartender in Bali, his vlogger dreams reduced to pouring drinks for tourists. She felt no satisfaction, only a hollow ache. The brother she'd once idolized was gone, lost to his own delusions and their parents' enablement. The house sold quickly to a young family with 2 kids and a dog. Scarlett watched from across the street as they moved in, their laughter echoing where her family's arguments once rang. The proceeds from the sale were enough to pay off her student loans, taken out years ago to cover Anton's private school, tuition, and fund a photography course she'd always dreamed of taking. She enrolled that spring, her camera a weight of possibility in her hands. For the first time in years, Scarlett felt the stirrings of a life that was hers. Not her family's, not her brother's, but hers alone. Scarlett and Rachel grew closer over the months, their shared history a bridge over the family's wreckage. Rachel invited her to Arizona, where they spent a weekend hiking in the desert. You did better than I did, Rachel said one evening, the sunset painting the sky red. You kept your heart intact. I don't know about that, Scarlett said, her voice soft, but I kept my truth. That's more than most in this family can say, Rachel replied. They toasted to new beginnings, the desert air warm. Around them, Scarlett felt the weight of the past lift, replaced by the promise of a future she could shape. Mila became Scarlett's anchor, the cousin who understood the cost of standing up. They met weekly for coffee, their conversations a lifeline. You're free now, Mila said one afternoon, her eyes warm. What are you going to do with it? Scarlett thought of the photography course, the trips she'd planned, the life she was building. I'm going to live, she said simply. For me, Mila smiled. That's the best revenge of all. A year later, Scarlett received a letter from Caitlin. It was short, written in shaky handwriting. I'm sorry, Scarlett. I saw you, but I didn't act. I failed you. I hope you find the happiness you deserve. Scarlett read it in her new apartment, a sunlit space filled with her photographs, landscapes, cityscapes, moments of beauty she'd captured on her travels. She didn't reply, but she kept the letter in a drawer, a reminder of the truth she'd fought for. Scarlett stood on a cliff in Iceland, her camera capturing the northern lights. The cold bit at her cheeks, but she felt alive, truly alive, for the first time in years. The house was gone, the family scattered, but she was whole. Some inherit homes, others inherit debt. Scarlett had inherited the truth, and with it, the freedom to live on her own terms.